I'm Ed Amoroso from TAG Cyber, and I'm here with Lenny Zeltser, who is the Chief Information Security Officer for a company called Axonius. Welcome, Lenny.
Hi, Ed. Good to be here.
Nice to see you. Hey, listen, we'll get into a discussion about you and tech, but let's start with a very brief description of what Axonius does.
Axonius is a company that focuses on helping companies understand asset management for the purpose of making cybersecurity-related decisions. So we call ourselves the Cybersecurity Asset Management Company.
That's great. So you find things, figure out where they are, whether they're secure, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the idea is that all organizations, small and big organizations, need to better understand what do they have, and what is their state. And by what I'm referring to, certainly devices, virtual machines, laptop, desktop, servers, also applications and users, and how they configured with respect to the desired state from the security perspective.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I've known you for a while. You've been in the cybersecurity industry for a number of years. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this, and how did you come to the role as CISO at Axonius?
So when I look at my journey, my most recent set of responsibilities for the last, 7 years or so were in product management.
Yeah.
And that means that I had the opportunity to create products and services to address other people's security needs.
Right.
And before that, I spent quite a few years working as a consultant. And before that, I had some opportunity to manage my own security program, but it's been a while since I had the responsibility to own my own program.
Right.
And
you teach as well.
And throughout all those years.
A lot of people know you through the teaching.
I've been teaching at SANS Institute, a variety of topics primarily focused on incident response and malware. And I got the itch to own my own security program. It's wonderful to build tools for others, and it's nice to be able to advise others how they might be able to do their job better. But I felt that it's time that I see once again what's it like to actually build a program. And so I joined Axonius to run the product management team. But then we were growing, and we felt the need to formalize our security program, create a team that manages it, and so I became the CISO.
I'll bet you use the product to protect the company.
It's wonderful to be able to use our own product. Now it's wonderful because I get to use it to get visibility into our own assets and coverage gaps and how to address them. But also, I'm able to provide some direct feedback to our product team, whom I know pretty well, since we used to work together.
They try new features and stuff out on you?
And yes, features, ideas. Look, there's always a ton of ideas that any product team wants to be able to build. How do you prioritize them? You have to speak to your customers, you have to talk to your prospects, you have to have some idea for where the industry needs some help, and I'm available as yet another perspective for my product team.
Now, let's talk about asset management. Admittedly, not the most sexy part of a cybersecurity program.
Indeed, yeah. When my friends heard that I'm joining a company that does asset management, what? Sounds boring. But here's there's several things that attracted me to a company that tries to solve this challenge, and so far has been quite successful at it. Asset management is just so foundational to anything that we do in security. True. And in various roles that I have had over the years, it's been one of those challenges that no one quite figured out how to address. Now, it's foundational, and don't just take my word for it. Look at CIS critical controls. Start with asset management. You look at the NIST cybersecurity framework. Start with asset management, because how can you secure that which you don't know you have? It's foundational. But this is not a great insight. We as an industry have known that asset management is foundational for many, many years, decades. And yet we haven't quite solved it. And haven't solved it at all. In fact, one might claim that as the world is becoming much more dynamic, and as systems exist as containers, as VMs, only for minutes, hours, it's getting harder and harder to keep track of everything that we have. So the problem is there. The problem hasn't been solved yet, and Axonius has a very novel way of addressing it in a way that our customers tell us actually works. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the architecture. Like, what am I installing? How does it involve cloud? What sort of connectors do you have? Tell us how it all works.
So the idea behind Axonius is that an organization doesn't need yet another source of data about its assets. a modern enterprise has all sorts of IT and security management systems that know something about a particular perspective on assets in that organization. So for example, if a company is using AWS, you can talk to AWS console and instrumentation about what AWS knows about. You can talk to your vulnerability scanner about what it knows about.
Right.
You can talk to your Active Directory. You can talk to your switching fabric. So lots of information sources within the enterprise already know something about their perspective on your assets. The challenge is that they don't talk to each other. So instead of saying, we're going to scan the network, instead of saying, we're going to sniff the network, instead of saying, we're going to put agents, we don't do any of that. We simply connect to the existing sources of information that the company already has, consume asset and configuration related data, and that's when a lot of difficult work begins, because you need to make sense of that data. Data is dirty, data is repetitive, so we have to clean it up, deduplicate it, correlate it, so that what our customers see is a console that shows them a single record per asset. But when they click on that record, they see that asset the way lots of different tools see that asset. So for example, you might look at a VM running in AWS and see what AWS knows about it, what your vulnerability scanner knows about it, what your endpoint management software knows about it, what your network tools know about, and all of that you can inspect from various different vantage points. And that's how you can identify coverage gaps. Because now you can start asking questions like, show me any system that is present in my Active Directory that is missing from my endpoint management software. That's how you've identified that you have a missing agent, for example. So that's what we do. Connect to existing data sources using lots of different adapters that we've built, consume the data, clean it, present it in a useful way, allow customers to query the data, and then also take remediating actions.
The software controlling all of this sits in the cloud, like a VM somewhere?
So yeah, the tool is a virtual machine that we provide to our customers as a virtual appliance. Customers can deploy it in their own environment, or they can deploy it in the cloud, whatever suits them.
And then the adapters point me to the SIM or AD or whatever the authoritative source of data would be. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when we say adapters, we're talking about code that we have written that knows how to talk to pretty much any data source that a modern enterprise has. And if we come across new data sources, then we add new adapters. And I've been thinking, as I was considering joining Axonius, and I'm glad that I ended up doing it, I was thinking, why does this company exist today? It's a pretty young company. Why does it exist today, and why hasn't it been around, let's say, 8 years ago? And the answer that I think makes sense, at least to me, is that 8, 5, maybe 10 years ago, the world, I think, wasn't quite as diverse. You didn't have quite as many best-of-breed tools that enterprise security teams wanted to deploy. But also, very importantly, the products were much more closed. Right now, any tool that you deploy, that you buy, probably has an API. You can actually talk to it. And that's amazing. So that's how we're able to consume all of this.
Well, that implies that the problem was still there, but you didn't have APIs. You still had scattered, unmanaged devices.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Which I think is true. I tend to think that the unmanageability has gotten worse, with hybrid. Not that the architecture is wrong, but anytime you change, you're going to lose track of things.
And I think we're changing much more frequently now. Where the business wants to move faster. Technology changes very rapidly, so the greater the rate of change, the greater the likelihood that you're going to leave things behind, that you won't notice certain things.
Once you find devices, PCs, endpoints, things like that, what are you looking for? Are you testing security or compliance or anything like that? What is the analysis that you do?
So the analysis is up to our customers to perform. We provide a very rich GUI that allows them to ask questions in the form of a query, and the tool comes with lots of pre-written queries that they can use as a starting point.
You gave an example a minute ago.
So for example,
right?
very common way is, show me all of my endpoints that are missing an agent. Or show me all the VMs or endpoints that are not being scanned for vulnerabilities.
These queries run pretty quickly?
Oh yeah, very quickly. A type of query, it runs. Yeah. And a lot of our customers go into the system when they, let's say, need to investigate a problem in real time. And different people use the system in different ways. So when I talk to our customers that have an active incident response team, they say anytime they have a ticket for a potential incident they need to investigate, they just type in the asset name or IP address in our system. Rather than going to lots of different information sources, they see quickly what they need. Or when we have a team that's responsible for vulnerability scanning, and a modern enterprise might use several different vulnerability scanning tools. They can go into our system, see what all of those tools produced from a single console. But also, you can schedule these queries to run so that when a query produces an unexpected result, it can notify the security team either by email or by creating a ticket or by actually automatically talking to some existing tool that you have to, let's say, quarantine the endpoint that's out of policy off the network, for example, or deploy the missing agent or firewall a given host that's deemed to be vulnerable.
You know, you and I are security people, so we look at a tool like this and we think vulnerability threats on. I'm going to guess the IT teams probably, who may not care a lick about security, they probably see some value because they can't build inventory and they need it for license management, for all the types of things that an IT team, or just technology refresh. So do you find that sometimes you're doing just an IT type sale, maybe with a little less emphasis on security?
So most of the engagement that we had so far that I have been privy to has been with security
around
teams.
Security.
Now, there are tangential discussions that we have. For example, audit teams love us because audit teams want to know everything that's there.
They want to know everything. Right.
And our customers tell us that, I mean, one of the reasons, there's a lot of reasons they hate audits. They're draining, they're time consuming, they're stressful sometimes, and to produce a list of your assets takes a long time, and it's a very manual, error-prone process. But
especially for unmanaged,
especially
I think the thing in looking at the tool, I think it sells itself just on helping me find devices before the auditor does.
That's
I'd rather find it, fix it, than have it found, because once it's found and it's in an audit report, it's like root canal. So I'd rather just do it. So
and that's by the way a common use case. The way to find unmanaged devices differs on what unmanaged means to a given organization, but a simple query might be, show me all the devices that my network fabric knows about that my management software does not know, right? And so
unmanaged usually means it's just not documented on the thing you're giving the auditor.
That might mean. So the point is that each organization treats that word differently.
Is better.
But you know, so I'm wondering whether the an IT person's tolerance for gaps in asset coverage is greater than a security person's.
I think it is.
And that might be why some IT organizations have, think that if they have 90% coverage of their assets, then that's good enough. A security person hears that there's a 10% gap in asset coverage.
That's a disaster.
I mean, that's where your risks are going to come from.
You know, one of the things you and I were chatting about that I thought was interesting and provocative, we were thinking future. And we talked about artificial intelligence, and you told me a couple of things that were interesting. Well, what's the thought process at the company around the use of artificial intelligence in the context of both collection, but in particular analysis and so on? What's your philosophy there?
So, look, artificial intelligence, or various ways in which we use it, machine learning, for example, has room in lots of different products, and lots of different applications. Sure. That's been very, very effective lately in endpoint security tools. And when we looked at the way in which we might apply artificial intelligence to our problem domain, and that is asset management, discovering assets, identifying gaps, and noticing discrepancies, we realized that we actually don't want to use artificial intelligence, at least the way that it is typically used in security products. I'm talking about machine learning. The reason for this is because our customers, when they see the output of our system, the reports that we generate, the alerts that we generate, they want to know, why did you flag this system? They need it to be deterministic. While the way that machine learning is typically used in security, you cannot answer why the model flagged a given thing as being problematic. So So far, we have decided to stay away from machine learning because we think we've identified a better way to tackle the problem in a way that our customers actually appreciate.
An interesting way of thinking of it. I think it makes perfect sense. Hey, how's business? You guys seem to be growing and doing a lot of enterprise business.
Yeah.
I hear about you all the time.
The company's doing very well. Yeah, we're seeing traction both in large enterprises as well as smaller mid-market organizations because, well, no one has been able to tackle the asset management problem within these enterprises and small businesses, and it's a relevant problem for companies of all sizes. So it's wonderful to be a part of a growing organization, and for me, since I'm the CISO, since I own the security management of our own environments, it's exciting to have a chance to start with a company relatively early, when we don't have a lot of legacy processes that you need to break and then put together again in a proper way. So the fact that we are starting at a relatively young age to formalize our security program, to me, it's very important. It shows that the company really cares about the security of our product, of our customer data, and hopefully sends the right signal to our prospects and our customers.
Well, I think they hired the right guy.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that.
I'm very, very jealous of your job. Looks like fun.
It's a lot of fun.
And I'm glad you were able to stop by. I know it wasn't too far to come because you
Very
guys,
convenient.
your offices are in New York and in Israel, Tel Aviv. So about a lot of back and forth.
Yes, indeed.
Well, you come back and share with us as you guys continue to make some progress. It sounds like a wonderful arrangement, and good luck with the new
thank you.
position.
Yeah, good chatting with you
It's
again.
great to see you. Thanks for sharing. And we'll see you next time.